Straight two stories making headlines. Tonight, it has emerged that the power outage that plunged the entire country into total blackout last night was caused by a faulty Lake Turkana wind power generation generator, which caused an overload on the national grid. Energy Cabinet Secretary Davis Chirchir says while the same would have been addressed by tapping into Uganda's power supply, that could not happen due to inadequate power coming from Uganda's line. Our reporter Shadrach Miti starts with that story on a country in darkness.
After a whole night of countrywide darkness occasioned by abrupt power cut that plunged the entire country into total blackout, on Saturday, Energy Cabinet Secretary Davis Chirchir was at the National Power Control Center in Dandora seeking answers from power technicians and engineers. It has since been established that the problem was as a result of a faulty generator at Lake Turkana Wind Power.
Yesterday at about 9:45 in the evening, we lost one generator, Lake Turkana Wind generation, which you know is 310 megawatts. It was a sudden loss, a sudden drop, and that caused an overload in the system. The system felt an overload, and we had a cascade switch off, which happened pretty fast, and the whole country was in darkness within a few minutes.
The government says the problem would have been addressed by an extra power supply from Uganda.
The challenge that we faced yesterday and we've not faced before is we normally do what we call a black start. A black start is a back feed. Instead of the system giving you power, you feed it with power to start it up. And we would normally use Uganda to backfeed and start up our systems. Unfortunately, yesterday and a few days ago, Uganda line to Kenya has been down.
At the time of power outage, Lake Turkana Wind Power Station, which generates 310 megawatts, was feeding into the national grid about 270 megawatts. But because power consumption at the time was low, attempts to revive the supply failed.
What must be understood in power systems is that when you generate, the load must be off-taken. You don't just generate if there is no load. So the process has been slow because bringing up a system during off-peak hours is quite a challenge. And that is why we are where we are today. In fact, we tried to hurry the building up of the system, and at about 3 o'clock in the morning, the whole system dropped again. So we are carefully bringing it up. We don't have any significant problem except that which has been isolated.
Although some parts of the country, and especially low power consumers, have their power supply restored, many more are still in the dark 24 hours later. Nevertheless, the government says it has dispatched engineers and technicians to Turkana to try and find out what the problem is.
We do not think there was any interference. We will see the logs and appreciate what exactly was the challenge. Was it a sudden drop in the wind speed? Was it, which it cannot be because that one would normally go down slowly. Was it a false signal which told the system shut down because it is facing some danger? That we are yet to establish, but the engineers are currently on the ground in Lake Turkana wind farm to check the logs and confirm to us what exactly.
But as it stands, it might take longer than expected to have countrywide power supply return to normalcy. Shadrach Miti, KTN News.
Meanwhile,